Just before we start the episode, here's a trailer for another podcast. If you like what you hear, go and check it out.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Rosewood, and I'm here to help you keep your curses hexy and your hexes sexy in this snarky true crime and paranormal podcast. If you like a little personality with your true crime and a little scare with some flair, I've got you covered. Thrice Cursed is available anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can also find my curse content on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrice Cursed Pod. And you can find even more at thriceCursedPod.com. Until then, keep it hexy.
Hi, I'm Laura.
And I'm Jo.
And this is Crime Divers.
Laura-sode.
Yay, it's me again.
What is your episode called?
Before I tell you the title, I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Yes.
You do, yeah. I think I believe in ghosts.
I believe that there's something. There's too many coincidences that people have seen things and... Yeah. So I say, yeah, I haven't seen one myself, but yes.
Yeah, no, I've not seen a ghost myself, but I like to believe that there is something out there.
Yeah, definitely, there's something.
Yes.
So, what's your episode called
then? This is called The Greenbrier Ghost.
The Greenbrier Ghost.
So it is a little bit of a ghost story. There is a ghost involved.
Right. So, well, I hope so, if that's what the title is.
Yes, it does give it away,
so where in the world are we?
We are in America.
Okay.
So
are we just going to dive in?
I think we should just dive into this ghost story.
Ooh.
Well, sorry, it is a ghost story, but
right.
Yeah. So it's not like spooky.
Right, just go for it.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so Elva Zona Hester, who we'll just refer to as Zona.
Okay.
Was born in Greenbrier County sometime around 1873. So we're way back again.
Wow, yeah, that's an old one.
Yeah, it is an old one. Sadly, almost nothing is actually known about her early life, other than the fact that she was brought up near Richlands and that she gave birth out of wedlock in 1895. So we don't really know much.
Right.
Clearly we don't know anything about her childhood or anything like that. But in October 1896, Zona met a drifter named... I'm going to struggle with this. Erasmus Stribling Trout Shoe. But we're going to refer to him as Shoe for the rest of this.
Are you sure we're in America, not some other, I don't know, foreign-speaking country?
Erasmus Stribling Trout Shoe.
We'll just call him Shoe then.
But we call him Shoe, because
right.
that's what he's referred to in all my
Zona
research.
and Shoe.
So Zona and Shoe.
Right.
I know, very random names.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, are you sure we're in America?
Yeah, well, we're definitely in America, but anyway. So he had moved to Greenbrier County in search of a new life and to work as a blacksmith. He had previously been married twice. One he had been granted a divorce from, and the other mysteriously died after 8 months of marriage. So Shue found work in a shop which was owned by a man named James Cruikshanks, and Zona actually met him not long after he arrived in town. So the two fell in love and they quickly married, like literally within weeks.
Oh,
they were
okay. That's
so,
quick.
Yeah, I know, it's a bit too soon for my liking, but I mean, you know, they must have fallen in love and a bit of a whirlwind, and hey, they got married. But Zona's mother, she had objected to it. She had actually taken an instant dislike to Shue, but of course Zona didn't listen. She had clearly, you know, known the man for a matter of weeks and decided that, you know, no, I'm best.
She knew best.
Exactly. So they didn't listen to the mother and they got married. So the couple lived peacefully for a short time, which I laugh because I'm like, that must have been weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, peacefully for a short time because they'd only just met in October 1986, but on January the 23rd of 1897, Zona's body was actually discovered at her home by a young boy who had been doing an errand for Shue. So, literally...
So, yeah, they weren't together very long then.
No, it was literally weeks. So I don't really understand how they could have been peacefully happy when literally it had been a matter of weeks.
Well, you can't be peaceful for a few weeks.
Well, I guess so, but...
They've been in the honeymoon period, maybe?
What, for like a couple of weeks?
Maybe.
But yeah, so the boy had found Zona lying at the bottom of the stairs. She was stretched out with her feet together and one hand on her stomach. The boy ran to tell his mother, because I'm assuming he mustn't have seen Shu at the house, but Shu must have been there. But the mother called the local doctor, because obviously at that time in the life there would have not been like 911 calls.
Yeah.
So it was like the local doctor, who was also the coroner as well.
Right.
His name is George W. Knapp. He took almost an hour to arrive. So, like I said, back in those days, you wouldn't have had an ambulance service to come and get you. So it was just a case of phoning the local doctor, which is why it probably took a while to come.
Probably horse and carts back then.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, he wouldn't have been like instant.
And he might have lived quite far away as well.
Yeah, and might have been dealing with somebody else because back in those days, in those towns, there maybe only was like one doctor or whatever, wasn't there? So, so as I said, Shu must have been at home, because by the time the doctor had arrived, he'd actually moved Zona's body. She was upstairs in her bedroom and she was laid out on her bed. He'd already dressed her. And apparently this was quite unusual, as back in those days it was traditionally the job of women in the community to wash and prepare the body for burial, so it wasn't...
But surely you're not supposed to move the body before the doctor comes.
Well, that's what I thought, because if she's had an accident, then you would want her to be found and examined and determined how it happened to her.
Well,
so that initially rang alarm bells in my head of why you would move her. And as I said, if it's traditional for the women of the community to come and actually, dress and prepare the body, why has he dressed her?
So is he hiding something? Is that why he's done it?
I think he was, yes.
Right.
Which we will find out what happened. So he dressed her in a high neck dress with a stiff collar and placed a veil over her face as well. Shu actually remained by her body while Dr. Knapp examined her, cradling his wife's head and sobbing. So he wouldn't leave her side at all.
Okay.
Dr. Knapp noted Shu's grief, so he only gave a brief examination. So,
why? What's that got to do with his grief?
Well, exactly. It's almost like he was there at her body, clearly wouldn't let the doctor freely examine her, so he's like, he's so upset that I'll just not bother.
If I was the doctor, I'd be like, no, you're being a bit suspicious, mate, move.
Yeah. But again, I suppose back in those days it was maybe a lot different to what it is now, whereas you'd get full examinations and postmortems.
I'm too suspicious. I wouldn't have been having that. I would have been telling him to move.
Exactly, that's what I would have been saying as well. But yeah, so he noted some bruising on the neck, and when he tried to get a closer look, Shu reacted quite violently, that Dr. Knapp just ended the examination and left the house.
Oh, well, he's obviously hiding something.
Exactly. I mean, you think, well, if you're going to get angry about it, I mean, yes, you can be upset, you can be sad.
Of course.
Totally in a, distraught state, but...
Let the doctor do his job.
Exactly, let the doctor do his job, but clearly no. And the doctor wasn't strong enough to clearly say that, so he just ended the examination and left. So this is where I was not laughing, I know it's not funny, but the initially Zona's cause of death was listed as everlasting faint.
Eh? What's that?
Well, I tried looking up what that meant, but I couldn't really find an explanation. I couldn't find anything to tell me what that meant, because I googled it, as you do, but there was no definitive answer, so I just guessed myself that maybe they thought she'd fainted and never regained consciousness.
Well, that's what it sounds like.
Because that's what it sounds like. But no, I could not find a medical, or no, maybe not medical, but I couldn't find a reason.
I've never heard of that before.
No, because every time I googled it, just brought me back to the case. So it's almost as if is this the only time it's been termed in a case. Because I just couldn't find anything to tell me why. So I made a guess myself.
Okay.
Yeah, but then later...
If anybody actually does know what that means, they can let us know.
I would be interested. I mean, but Google certainly didn't reveal to me what it was. But the cause of death was actually later changed to childbirth. So we know from what I found was that the doctor had been treating her for female trouble for 2 weeks before her death.
Female trouble?
But whether she was pregnant, we don't actually know. So again, I don't understand why they're saying it was later changed to childbirth, because we don't actually know if she was pregnant. There was nothing to say. But I know this is a long time ago, so medical records won't be as accurate and maybe as easy to find or as recorded as well as they are now. But But anyway. So Zona's parents were told of her death, and her mother is reported to have said, quote, "The devil has killed her," upon hearing the news. So she was obviously thinking something was suspicious.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I actually, I don't know what I thought there. For some reason, I was thinking that she was blaming, like, she was sort of blaming Zona, like, for it was her own fault kind of thing. That's what I was, for some reason, that's what
she's obviously thinking something was suspicious already, I think.
I get that.
So Zona was buried on the 24th of January 1897, so only a day after she died as well, so...
That was quick.
Not even, like, long. So basically that doctor's examination was like, all right, that's what's happened, right, bye.
She's fainted, she's not coming back to life, let's just bury her.
Yeah, so she was buried in the local cemetery, which I was thinking, like, thank God, like, maybe, I don't know, 'cause I don't know if cremation was a thing in those days.
I don't know.
But, you know, in this case, thank God cremation wasn't, because then that would have been, if she was, like, done the day after, you know, there would have been no...
Why, did they dig her?
Well, yeah, they redug her up, so, right. I mean, like, thank God.
So just as well, there was no cremation then.
Yeah. So, at this point, Shu had, you know, showed great devotion toward her body, keeping a vigil at the head of the open coffin, during actually moving her, because they had I suppose, like, a wake before she got buried. Like, so she was actually, like, there in a coffin.
Right.
And people could come in and sort
of
see her.
See her and stuff,
So that must have done it before she was actually buried.
Yeah.
So Suni's behaviour began to change and arouse suspicion, because that was just said during the week, so this was before she was buried. His grief changed repeatedly from overwhelming sadness to incredible energy. He wouldn't allow anyone to come close to the coffin, especially while he was placing a pillow on one side of her head and a rolled up sheet on the other, so it was like he was trying to keep her head in place, I think.
Okay. Did she break her neck?
Yeah, I'll explain what happened,
okay.
But that clearly, you know, he obviously was making sure it wasn't moving. So he explained these additions by saying that it would help his wife rest easier. Shu also tied a large scarf around the body's neck, explaining tearfully that it had been Zona's favourite. And when it came time to move the body to the cemetery, several people noticed that there seemed to be a strange looseness to Zona's head.
Right, okay.
So
but how did the doctor not pick up on that?
Exactly. So all he noted at that point was there was some bruising to her neck, because Shu wouldn't let her come near his neck, and because he was so, you know, overcome with grief.
That's unbelievable, isn't it?
That, let's say, in this day and age, that would never have happened.
No, of course that wouldn't happen now, but even then, I mean, still, it's just...
Yeah, I know.
Something pretty unbelievable.
Exactly. So Zona's mum, was she was so convinced at this point that her son-in-law had murdered her. After the wake, she removed the sheet from inside the coffin and tried to return it to him, but Shu refused it. So she noticed an odd odour about it, so she washed it, and the water in the basin actually turned red when she dropped it in. And the sheet then turned pink, and the water cleared, so the stain couldn't be removed from it. Which Zona's mother interpreted as a sign that Zona had been murdered.
Yeah.
Because it was obviously blood. She began to pray, and every night for 4 weeks she kept up her prayers, hoping that Zona would return to her to explain what happened. So according to local legend, this is where the ghost comes in.
Okay.
Zona appeared to her mother in a dream 4 weeks after the funeral. She said that Shu was a cruel man who had abused her and who attacked her in a fit of rage when he believed that she had cooked no meat for his dinner. He broke her neck, and to prove this, the ghost turned her head round until it was facing backwards.
So he killed her just because she never cooked any meat for his dinner?
That's what Zona's ghost is telling us.
Okay. Lovely man then.
Exactly. So supposedly the ghost first appeared as a bright light gradually taking form and filling the room with a chill. She is said to have visited Zona's mother over 4 nights. So after the 4 nights, Zona's mother felt that she had to do something, so she visited the local prosecutor, John Alred Preston, and spent several hours in his office convincing him to reopen the matter of her daughter's death. We don't know whether he actually believed her story about the ghost or not, but he did have enough doubt, so he sent out deputies to re-interview several people of interest in the case, including Dr. Knapp.
I hope they gave him a good talking to and interrogated him.
I know. We think that he was likely responding to the public as well, as numerous locals had actually begun suggesting that Zona had been murdered, so there was enough doubt to think that I need to
that's good.
Look at it. So Preston himself actually went to speak to Dr. Knapp, and Dr. Knapp himself, who stated that he had not made a complete examination of the body, so this was viewed as sufficient justification for an autopsy and an exhumation, was ordered and an inquest formed. So that's where I go back to the point of thank God that
there wasn't a cremation.
There wasn't a cremation because then... So that's why I'm assuming, like, in this day and age, you know, we obviously, you know, autopsies and that are done thoroughly, you know, because otherwise, once they're cremated, there's no way of
you can't
re-examining that, is there? So in a suspicious death, you know, they've got to do a thorough autopsy.
You'd have to.
So thank God medical science has changed a lot since back in those days.
Yeah, definitely.
So Zona's body was examined on 22nd of February 1897, and Shu had, funnily enough, complained about this turn of events, but he was required by law to be at the autopsy.
Really?
Yeah, so I mean, again, that must have changed, because I'm assuming you're not required by law now.
Why would you be at the autopsy?
Well, yeah, I don't know, but apparently that was law back then.
I wonder what the reason for that was, though.
Yeah.
Like, because it's not like he's going to be involved in it.
Well,
he's just going to be standing there.
Unless, I don't know, is he like a witness in case the doctors tamper with it or something?
But surely you would have to have an independent witness.
Well, I would think so, but I suppose back in those days you wouldn't have the medical people that we have in these days around.
Yeah, it just seems a bit strange.
Yeah, there was no explanation to say why. It was just that he was required by law to be there. But he responded that he knew he would be arrested, but that no one would be able to prove his guilt. So he thought he was going to be arrested from the fact that they were re-examining him, but he didn't think that he would be found guilty for doing anything, which contradicts itself a bit.
Well, it's a bit stupid if you've broken her neck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the autopsy lasted for 3 days and found that Zona's neck had indeed been broken. According to the report, the discovery was made that the neck was broken and the windpipe mashed on the throat where there were marks indicating finger marks, indicating on the throat were the marks of fingers indicating that she had been choked. The neck was dislocated between the first and second vertebrae, and the ligaments were also torn and ruptured, and the windpipe had been crushed at a point in front of the neck. So on the strength of this evidence and his behaviour at the inquest, Shu was arrested and charged with the murder of his wife. So he sounds like he must have strangled her quite badly from those injuries.
Yeah.
But then I suppose that kind of explains why the head was floppy or not looking right. So Shu was held in jail in Lewisburg while waiting for his trial to begin. During this time, more information about his past actually came to light. So as I said at the start, he had been married twice before. So his first marriage had ended in divorce, with his wife accusing him of great cruelty, and his second wife had died.
Oh, you said it was mysterious or something,
Yeah,
didn't you?
under mysterious circumstances, less than a year after they were married.
Oh,
so,
dodgy.
You know, now they're thinking that maybe that was a bit more than it is. But we don't actually know what happened, sadly. There was nothing to explain other than the fact that it must have been suspicious. Yeah.
He might have killed his other wife then.
So Zona was his third wife, and Shu had actually spoke about his wish to wed 7 women. He freely spoke about this in jail, so he even told reporters that he was sure he would be let go because there was so little evidence against him.
Really?
Well, he was a bit too cocky. Cause
I was going to say.
That did not happen, but... So,
How could you think there wasn't much evidence against you when you've done that to her?
Well, exactly.
All those injuries.
Well, exactly. Ridiculous. So I'm thinking if he wanted 7 wives, he must have been...
Well, yeah.
popping them off.
Yeah, I can think of what the word was for that.
Yeah. So his trial began on the 22nd of June, 1897, and Zona's mother was the star witness. Preston confined his questioning to the case known facts, though, skirting the issue of her ghostly findings. So they didn't obviously rely on her ghostly too much.
Well, yeah.
He tried to stick to the facts because I suppose using a ghost as evidence. I don't think that's probably too credible.
No, I don't think so.
Skirted the issue of that. When cross-examined, she was questioned extensively on her daughter's visits, though. This was obviously in the hope to find her unreliable. The tactic totally backfired, though, because Zona's mother would not waver in her account despite intense questions, so she was adamant that she had seen Zona's ghost and that she had told her, what had happened to her. So as the defence had introduced the issue, the judge found it difficult to instruct the jury to disregard the story of the ghost.
Right.
And many people in the community seemed to believe it, so they all believed that there was indeed a ghost. Which is...
But the issue with that is, yeah, they could believe that she's seen a ghost and all the rest of it, but how do they know what... she could just be lying, saying the ghost said this.
As we said before, she believed that her son-in-law had murdered her, and she obviously realised there was something going on with her neck as well. So she could have concocted that story, I suppose.
But just think, like, I'm not saying that she did concoct it, but in a court of law, there's no evidence, there's no proof.
No.
So anybody could just go and say, oh yeah,
I saw a ghost.
And told me this. So, yeah.
But I think, the ghost story did play a part. Because I think if it hadn't been for that, then she wouldn't have went to the guy to then get the body examined, and then this obviously happens. I suppose the ghost did play a part in some justice in the end. So she was found guilty of murder on the 11th of July and sentenced to life in prison. However, according to reports, the Greenbrier Ghost was never mentioned by the prosecution and played no part in the case against Shu. So it was never on record,
right?
Like that was the reason that he was convicted. I mean, we know about it because there was record of it happening, but it was never put on the official report that that's why he was convicted.
Right.
So it played no part in that. A lynch mob was formed to take him from jail and hang him. Did you know what a lynch mob is? Yeah. They had formed to take him from jail and actually hang him, but the mob was disbanded by the deputy sheriff before any damage was done, and 4 of the mob organisers later faced charges for their actions as well. So that they obviously weren't happy with the fact that he was going to found guilty. They wanted to take them and just kill him themselves.
Lovely.
Imagine that in this day and age. Imagine if say a killer was convicted, and then they would have been on their way to jail, but a big lynch mob was like, no, we're gonna get them and we're gonna kill them.
I'm sure people have tried, but they won't get anywhere near them.
I know that. Obviously it didn't happen then, but I'm sure I've read other stories where that has happened, where lynch mobs have turned up and they've taken the law into their own hands to do that. But no, they weren't successful, and like I said, that's 4 of the organisers were charged themselves for their action. I don't know what sentence or whatever would have happened to them.
They probably never got much.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so. So Shu was moved to the West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville, where he remained for the next 3 years before he died on the 13th of March 1900. He died of an unknown epidemic, and he was buried in an unmarked grave in the local cemetery, which that annoys me. I'm like, how they get found guilty of a crime and then they die. They don't, that's not suffering, is it?
No, it's not.
Don't agree with that.
Well, I don't think it was hell that he died.
Well, I know, but it's just like, well, you got off lightly then, didn't you?
Yeah.
You lived the majority of your life, you spent a few years in jail, and then, I mean, obviously you lost your life, I suppose, but...
you never got to marry your 7 women.
Well, no, that's true.
So,
that's true,
he was deprived of that.
He was deprived of that. So Zona's mother never told the story of her daughter's ghost again. It was never talked about again. She died in September 1916. And as for Zona, her ghost was never seen in the area again.
Yeah, well, she must have only just had... That must have been her unfinished business.
Well, it must
So
have
she
been.
just came back to say... He murdered me, so do something about it.
Exactly.
And then once he got charged in that way, then she probably went and rested in peace.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, so there's my story, my ghost story. Let's say that wasn't a massive ghost story, but it certainly played. I think
Well, there was a ghost in it.
Yeah, I think that the fact that the mother had said that she'd seen a ghost definitely played a part in getting him convicted.
Definitely, because if she hadn't have done that, then the body wouldn't have been exhumed and
exactly.
and have been all re-examined and stuff.
I know. So I would like to find more ghost stories, but that was the first one that I came across that I thought might be quite...
Well, I mean, it was still crime as well. It was true crime.
Well, still, she got murdered, and there just happened to be a ghost involved, and we hadn't done a ghosty story before, so...
We should do a series.
Well, of ghost stories.
Yeah, but it has to be well, obviously, usually when there's a ghost, it's pretty much true crime anyway.
Yeah.
Well, not really, but yeah, but they have to have been murdered or something like that. So you could do a wee series.
Because I like to believe in ghosts. I'd like to say that I've
listeners, shall we hold Laura to that?
Yeah.
Laura's got to do a series.
A series of ghost stories.
A series of ghost stories that involves true crime.
God, that's a challenge.
But you don't have to do it like every week.
No, I'll just like every
just
now
a
and
wee
again.
series, yeah. So that's number one in the
that's
in
number
the
one
series.
in our ghost series.
Yeah,
the Greenbrier Ghost.
The Greenbrier Ghost.
I know, because I like ghost stories. I've always been interested in that, in the paranormal sort of thing.
Yeah, I like it as well. So it's nice to have one now and again.
Yeah.
So you can be in charge of that.
Right. now I feel a bit under pressure, like I've got to go and find more ghost stories.
Well, I'll tell you what. If I ever come across any, I'll just tell you what, like, the name of it. You can go and you can do the research
on it. Yeah,
you can do
definitely.
it. So I'll help you out.
I know. And then maybe I can do a few and find a few interesting ones.
Yeah, that'd be quite good.
Yeah, I have to find more for like Halloween as well.
Halloween's ages away.
I know, but the way this year's going, we're in what middle of March already. By the time this is out, we'll be at the end of March.
No, it's only next. I don't know when this will be out. Next week. Okay, well, yeah, actually, because it's 17th today, so it'll be near the end of March.
Near the end of March, so this year's flying in, to be fair. So who knows? But yeah, I shall find a few more ghost stories for us to talk about.
Ghost/true crime.
Yeah,
it can't just be a ghost story of somebody who dropped down dead. It has to be the person has to have been murdered. Yeah.
or killed in an unlawful way.
Yes, that's murder.
Well, I know, but.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
just say
so true crime/ghost.
Yes, I shall find some more for us, and hopefully they'll be good.
So if you'd like to follow us on Instagram or Twitter, we are
crime_divers_pod.
We have a Facebook page,
Crime Divers Podcast.
You can email us at
crime_divers_pod@outlook.com.
We have a YouTube channel,
which is Crime Divers Podcast.
And if you would like to support the show on Patreon, just head on over to patreon.com/crime divers. We
yeah, we have different tiers, and we start from as little as £1, where you can get 2 bonus episodes a month, early access to our normal episodes,
bloopers, and I can't remember what else.
Shout outs.
Yeah, if you want to go and have a look, then on you go.
Yeah, you're so nice. And don't forget, if you do like us, to subscribe,
rate, review. Thanks for listening.
Bye.